Alright, good morning video producers. This is Mr. Granlund. I'm going to take you through this tutorial. So here we have Ryan in this chair, and he's going to go flying backwards with these giant flames that come out of his hands. Alright, so let's get started. To start off with, I'm going to right click on MVI 0012 and go to New Comp from Selection. Okay, once we're in here, we're going to get to the part of the footage where nobody's peeking around the corner there. And then we're going to slide that footage. So this is our clean plate. And I'm just going to do a good job labeling stuff here. Right click on the layer and type in clean plate. Alright, so now we're going to need the footage that goes on top of this, the one with Ryan just in the chair. We're going to put this on top here, and we're going to rotoscope out. Oh, wrong footage, that's 22. We're going to look for 13. Yep. And we're going to roto brush Ryan out of the background here. So we're going to go to where he's kind of stable, so right around 2 seconds. We're only going to do this for maybe 5 seconds total. So I'm just going to slide that down there, and we're going to double click on this layer. So 1, 2, and here we are. As you can see, it says layer up here, MVI. That means that we're just looking at this one layer. We're going to click on this button in the top here, roto brush, and our cursor turns to this green circle. If I hold Alt, it turns into a red circle. And what we're going to do is we're going to just kind of go kind of close to the edge here. Not really. But what the computer will actually do is it's going to search and find the edge automatically for us. And it goes to the outside, but it gets this door, so I hold Alt on the keyboard. I just kind of paint in a little bit of the door, and it kind of snaps to the fingers there. And it gets the chair pretty good. Oh, got to get some wheels here. And I'm going to roll the mouse forward and just kind of see if I can get in here a little bit. Yeah, just like that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, in this kind of second timeline for this layer, I'm going to take this area and stretch it out to the left and to the right, depending on how much time we have. And what this is going to do, I'm just going to take this cursor here, and it's actually going to render and find the outside edge as best as it can. It's not always perfect. And it's going to do that for all the frames going backward here. And since Ryan doesn't move a lot, it should do a pretty good job. We will refine this matte and kind of do some work here. I'm going to take the cursor, go forward here, so it's going to take that point and go forward. That looks good. I'm just going to scrub through to check it. Yeah, Ryan does a real good job of being still. And then when I'm done, when I've got a nice matte here, I don't have to clean it up at all, I'm going to click on Freeze. The matte's frozen here, so we're going to go back to the composition. And you may not be able to tell at first, but Ryan is now cut out of that layer. If I scroll in and turn this onto high, I look at the outside edge. I just want to make sure that it's smooth and feathered a little bit. The feathering is pretty good. I'm going to increase that a little bit. I'm going to increase the smoothing just a little bit more. Alright, this is alright. So now we have Ryan all by himself. We're going to go to turn this onto 3D here. So under the box here, 3D. This allows a layer to be 3D. So I'm going to click on that box in that layer. What that allows us to do is move Ryan in 3D space, so you can make him close to the camera and far away from the camera. We have a few things that we want to do first while we have Ryan here. And one of them is make the fireballs that come out of his hands. Now in my example here, I have this pre-comp 1 here, and that has a lot of the stuff in it. And as we can see in this pre-comp, I have particles, I have flare, and I have burner, which is kind of a radial blur, a ramp, and some fractal noise. And it gives us this kind of nice jumping, kind of shooting flame effect. Alright, so back to the composition at hand. I'm going to do one other thing too. I'm going to rename this comp. Rather than being MVI0015, I'm going to right click, rename that, call it afterburner tutorial. It's always important to label your projects and layers and stuff appropriately so that you don't get lost and you can keep track of things more easily. That's what the pros do. Okay, so now we're going to make the burner. I'm just going to make it right here. You can do Control Y on your keyboard. You can go to Layer, New, and Solid. And I'm going to call this burner. We're going to use fractal noise. So I'm going to find fractal, go to fractal noise, drop it in here. And I'm going to increase the contrast. I'm going to do radial blur, actually CC radial fast blur on here, and I'm going to increase the amount there, and I'm going to put an ellipse like that, and I just get this nice kind of, it's just kind of this starburst kind of pattern. Now I want it to kind of do some transforming while it's in there too. So I'm going to go to evolution here. I'm going to set a couple of keyframes. So I'm going to click on the stopwatch for evolution there. I'm going to go to the end, and I'm going to have it go about 10 times around there. And what that does is you just kind of get this kind of shooting pattern like that. That looks pretty cool. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to set this toggle switches in mode, go to mode here. I'm going to set that to add. That gives me a nice kind of bright looking thing. I'm just going to put that there on top of Ryan's hand, and then I'm going to duplicate that. I can do Control D on the keyboard, or I can go to composition or edit and duplicate. So Control D or duplicate, and I'm going to put a ramp on this layer. Ramp. And start color is going to be like a red or maybe like a yellow. And then the end color is going to be red. So it gives me more of a burny look. Alright, that's looking good. I'm going to actually size this down so we get more onto Ryan's hand here. I'm going to size this one down a little bit. So burner from layer 1. Alright, and you can adjust the size to whatever's going to look good for you. I'm going to set the second burner on top and change that from add to hard light. And as you can see, it just allows me to kind of see through that a little bit more. Now some of the other things you would maybe want to try, you could try switching up, try switching which one is hard light, which one is add, see if you get better results. Another thing you could try, you can do instead of doing a radial fast blur and doing that, you could do like a radial blur and then do like kind of like a spinning kind of blur. That can look pretty cool too. I'm pretty good with this as it is right now. I'm going to make a flare, so we're going to do Control Y on the keyboard. You can go Layer, New, Solid, and we're going to go to Flare. Always got to have a lens flare. VFX is all about lens flares. So I'm going to just put that flare there, and I'm going to change the blending mode here from normal to add. That gives us a very cool looking thing. That's a bit intense, so I'm going to just bring that down, And maybe I'll even put that behind one of the other layers just to kind of push it back a little bit. Now I'm going to add, because when you have this flaring, it's not going to just stay constant the whole time. So I'm going to hold Alt on the keyboard and click in the stopwatch here, Alt, and I'm going to type an effect. So there's this little line of code here. It's really easy. Wiggle, W-I-G-G-L-E, parentheses, and let's see. We'll do 10, 5. Let's see what that looks like. And what that does is it just changes the flare brightness a little bit so it gives a more of a pulsing effect, more like an afterburner would be. Alright, and one more layer. We're going to put it above the flare layer, underneath the burning layer here. We're going to go to Layer, New, Solid, or Control Y. We're going to call this Particle. And we're going to look for CC Particle World. You can type Part into the search bar here, CC Particle World, onto there. And I'm going to take this. This is where all the things are emanating from. This is the producer. And we're going to put that there. And we're going to animate the birth rate. We're going to start it at 0 and then increase it to about 6. We're going to go to longevity. We're going to turn that down so it doesn't like spark all over the place. We're going to go to physics. We're going to turn the velocity down so it's not flying all over the place. We're going to turn the gravity down so it's shooting kind of more at the camera. Yep, just like that. And we're going to change the blending mode here from normal to add, something like that. There we go. That's very spark-like. Alright, so now we have kind of all the pieces. We have particles, we have a burner, we have two burners, we have a flare, and they're all kind of composited together here. We're going to take all this and we're going to pre-compose the whole thing. That basically means we're going to kind of combine it into a single layer so we can just duplicate it real easily. So we're going to highlight all of them. So we're going to click on the top one, hold Shift, click on the bottom one, go up to Layer, go to Pre-Compose, or Control-Shift-C. And we're going to call this Burner. And move all attributes into the new composition. Click OK. And that makes this little guy. We're going to go back to, we're going to turn the blending mode here to Add. And then we're going to duplicate this by doing Control D on the keyboard and just sliding it over. So now we have two burners here. Now we want the burners to grow and get bigger. We don't want them to just just suddenly appear there and then he's got burners on his hands. We're going to make them kind of animate in. So we're going to highlight both of them. We're going to do, well, you can just do one at a time. You can push T on the keyboard for opacity, and we're going to click on this in the stopwatch here. We're going to move it down just a little bit. We're going to start it off at 0, so it kind of just fades in like that a little bit. And we're going to do the same kind of thing. We're going to push S on the keyboard, click on the stopwatch for scale, slide that 100% down there a little bit, and have it be 0. Now, oh, I see a Alright, I'm going to do the same thing for this other hand here. I'm going to actually start by going to the Pan Behind tool. And I'm going to take this little circle here and put it at the center of my burner. That's going to help me when I do the scaling up. So you didn't see me do that with the last one. But I put that anchor point there, right in the center of the burner. And I do that with the Pan Behind tool. Now I'm going to start with T for opacity. I'm going to click on the stopwatch for that, drag that down a little bit, and then I'm going to have it go from, it's going to animate from 0 to 100. I'm going to do the same thing for scale. So I push S on the keyboard, 100%. I'm going to drag that down a little bit further, and then I'm going to type in 0. So I have a, and then I'm going to highlight this, highlight burner, and push U on the keyboard a couple of times. And what U does is it shows